What's poppin', y'all? Lucky recently did an interview with Kids Take Over, and he dropped one of the points that I think really needs to be echoed a lot more, not just to these pages, but to the fans. And I'm gonna play you guys the clip first, then we're gonna talk about it a little bit more.
Main pages that the labels pay to push, like the artists and shit, it could be a 40-year-old white man determining like what's cool in hip hop.
Yeah,
that's
but you don't know because that's not like, you don't know who they are.
That's not cool. Like Wham, like Lil Baby, right? You outside and you like, of our culture, like it's Lil Baby, like you know that. So why is a kid that's 13-year-old from the middle of America, I'm not trying to like, he could be white or black, that listens to only like Netspin, Osama's son, like you said, why is he saying this is trash? Like, you don't even listen to this type of music, and that's like the norm now. That's not cool. Like when somebody like A Boogie drop, like on Academics page, they like boo, like put on like an underground. Like, it's not even your type of music. Like,
yeah,
that really irritates my soul. Like, where's the line? Like, the hip hop media need to be like, direct them over there, direct them over there, direct them over there. Like, everybody don't need to be like coming strictly just off Academics page. It's like some Revenge of the Nerds in a way. Like, y'all barely like rap in the first place, so stop commenting on it.
So off rip, some people are probably like, man, he talk about you. What you mean he got a point? Listen. Hold on. All right. Before everybody points their bayonets at me, I actually don't think I fit this description. The reason being is that a lot of the time you guys will hear me talk about a certain album, a certain project, a certain genre, a certain subgenre, and I'll say this isn't for me. And that is very, very different from this sucks. Because I understand, like, for example, country music as an entire genre, it's not for me. I just didn't grow up anywhere near people that listen to country. I never even heard country unless it was maybe like one of those country songs in the maybe 60s, 70s, 80s that blew up to get mainstream. But I don't really think I heard any country music until post, I guess you could say Taylor Swift, who I enjoyed, but she was more like country pop. And then maybe Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, if we want to call it that, but her music was pop. And then it was somewhat of a meme to criticize country. But regardless, I understand that people like it. And when I listen to it, it doesn't do anything for me. But that doesn't mean it sucks. It just means it's not for me. Like, for example, a lot of hip hop fans, you guys hate on pop. And you guys hate on EDM sometimes, but mostly you guys hate on pop. You're like, man, these pop artists suck. They're soulless. I enjoy pop music. I enjoy a lot of pop music. Now, Sabrina Carpenter, I haven't really tapped into too much, but if we're talking pop Taylor Swift, if we're talking Ed Sheeran, if we're talking, hell, even Calvin Harris, who you could say is like EDM pop-ish, I really enjoy those people's music. Ariana Grande, I think a lot of hip-hop fans enjoy her as well. But what I'm not going to do is take any some hip-hop identitarian opinion on pop music, because a lot of people just write off the whole entire genre and say, yo, pop music sucks, which is wrong. So the thing here that happens very frequently is narratives will start to develop around certain artists that are completely untrue. And I think this started happening with hip-hop pages, which is what Lucky's referring to, because they're really what spur up narratives. Like, for example, me talking on YouTube, listen, I'm like a tier C, I guess you could say, like, commentator. And like, don't try to gas me. I'll be like, nah, you're tier A. Like, maybe personally you enjoy listening to me the most, but in terms of popularity, I'm like a C tier. And I've tried to keep myself at C tier because I like it here. Trust me, I really enjoy it here. I don't have to worry about anybody coming at me or any of that stuff that the A tier people got to worry about. And I don't got to worry about being a threat to the A tier people like the B tier people are. So I just get to chill and cool out. But me talking about something is not going to spread far enough to where other pages are like, oh, let's adopt this narrative, whatever the narrative may be. However, in Academics, let's say he talks about Meek Mill falling off, and Meek Mill could be dropping the best music of his life, but him creating these jokes around Meek Mill, him being A tier really in terms of popularity, S tier even, like the biggest, him spreading that across his pages, other pages adopt it, they get engagement from it. Now suddenly everybody's talking about Meek Mill sucking, when even Academics recently said like, yo, Meek Mill's been dropping some of the best raps I've heard him drop in a very, very long time. And it's those types of things that Lucky's talking about, except Academics, it's actually spurring from a personal issue that he has with the artist. So he's like, I don't mess with Meek Mill, or I don't mess with a Lil Baby, so I'm going to come at him. And that's a little bit understandable. Some people will be like, no, you're a platform, you got to be unbiased even if you have a personal issue. Sure, but what I'm saying is that that's understandable in comparison to a random page that doesn't have any personal issue towards any of these people, isn't a fan of their music, and yet is still just trying to pile on and create narratives just to get engagement to talk negatively about the artist's work. So for instance, he gives the Lil Baby example. A lot of these pages, and I think these people came in via, this is my theory, they came in via Playboi Carti's Whole Lotta Red post hyperpop era. So if you guys remember, like hyperpop was kind of blowing up similarly to, or in a similar time frame around 2020-ish. You got artists like Eric DOA, you had artists like Glaive, and people were like, yo, these guys are going to be the next pop stars. This is going to be the next wave. Yeah, that didn't end up happening. But that sound brought in a lot of people to a Whole Lotta Red. So a lot of people that were listening to Whole Lotta Red they've had all these funky colored looking flags on their Twitter profiles, and people are like, yo, these people must have not listened to Carti back in the day. They must not primarily be hip hop listeners, and they weren't. And this brings new eyes, new ears, and new opinions who slowly build up, I guess you could say, not credibility, but build up a following within the niche of hip hop, because you could say Whole Lotta Red is a subgenre within hip hop, and they start to have these opinions about rappers like NBA Youngboy, rappers like Lil Baby, right? Traditional rappers. Not traditional in terms of like boom bap, but artists that we all consider like, yo, these are hip hop artists and we mess with them, even a DaBaby, and they just are clowning these guys when these guys are the bedrock of the genre. When the average person that doesn't listen to hip hop talks about their favorite rap songs, they're probably referencing a DaBaby song, a Lil Baby song, a Drake song. They're not referencing some deep cut off of Whole Lotta Red or one of these leaks or some hyper pop song. And that's what Lucky's really talking about. And for example, like it recently came out, Apple Music was releasing their list, and when it comes to the people with the most songs in the top 500, most streamed songs in the top 500 of Apple Music, guess who's number one? Drake with 38 songs. Okay. Guess who's number two? Lil Baby with 20 songs. And this isn't just rappers, because Taylor Swift has 14 songs after Lil Baby, and Post Malone has 13 songs after Taylor Swift. So that just goes to show you. Now, granted, I could try to break this down another way, but I haven't collected enough data to really say that. I was going to say, well, that's because Lil Baby blew up at the perfect time for Apple Music, but because he blew up after Apple Music came out. A lot of these other artists were on before Apple Music came out in 2015. But I don't really think that argument really holds up. If I spent like a couple more minutes, I could probably tear it apart. So don't take that argument for face value. But the point is, if you listen to people, they would tell you that, yo, Lil Baby's not lit at all. Lil Baby's fell off. He's whack, this and that. Yet he has the second highest number of songs in the top 500 of Apple Music. And Apple Music is a very, very good indicator, because the majority of Apple Music listeners and subscriptions come from the US. It was primarily a US-based platform. Spotify was more of a global platform. I mean, it started in Sweden and spread throughout Europe, and it had so many years to garner a global audience, and it has a free version as opposed to Apple Music that launched in the US, and it was primarily, or you had to pay. They had the 3-month free trial thing, but it's a paid platform, paid subscription. And I don't know if there's anything that can be done to stop these pages, because you're not going to tell somebody like, hey, you've got this responsibility to really, be a little bit fair. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? And the thing is, a lot of these pages are vessels. Like, someone is running it, but it's different than someone formulating their opinion via a video or a podcast or an extended audio clip where you're getting the full context and nuance of someone's argument. So if someone says, hey, I don't like this Lil Baby song because this, and this, versus, oh, Lil Baby's a trash artist, this guy makes the same song 100 times. Meanwhile, they'll listen to another rapper that makes the same exact song. Like, if they presented the rapper, like, let's say, I'll give a perfect example, and look, he was talking about people that mess with somebody like Netspend hating on Lil Baby, which is actually a very, very accurate assessment of a lot of what these pages would do to someone like a Lil Baby or a Youngboy. Netspend, if you present Netspend to the average Lil Baby listener, they're going to listen to 5 different songs and say, yo, this guy just makes the same song over and over and it's trash. But that same person that's a Netspend fan are saying that same criticism about a Lil Baby. So what Lucky's trying to put across here is like, yo, a lot of these rappers careers hinge on these narratives that are created by people who don't even listen or enjoy their music. So is it really criticism if the person criticizing you never liked you in the first place, currently doesn't like you, and there's nothing that you can do for them to like you? It's like a country artist trying to win me over. Or like, for example, like Anthony Fantano, he likes a certain type of music that he'll give like 10 out of 10s to. And there are certain other types of music and artists in general, like Post Malone back in the day, that he just didn't like. There's nothing that you can do to change his mind. You just got to go somewhere else. But when that person whose mind you can't change is suddenly powerful and has a ripple effect with their opinion, which is always going to be negative about you, now you're in this position where you're kind of effed. Unless you're not that big of an artist. Like, I don't think Lucky has to suffer too much from this, because he, like I said, like when I called myself C tier, I wouldn't necessarily call him a C tier rapper, but he's a rapper that just like coasts underneath. Like, people don't have high expectations of Lucky sales. They don't have low expectations. So when he does a lot of numbers, they're like, yo, Lucky went crazy. But there aren't necessarily, like Lucky himself isn't really a topic of consistent conversation, because he's not going to generate the engagement that the biggest rappers would generate. So he's kind of in this sweet spot, and he's talking about it from a perspective of somebody that's an artist that's maybe faced this on a very, very small scale, and then drawing it out to somebody like a Lil Baby and like, yo, this is what these guys got to deal with. And it's a tough situation to be in, to be honest. And I don't know how we can. Really, the only way I can say that this can be solved is to just, the people that are at the top, or the people that do mess with stuff heavy, you got to make it known that you mess with it, and you got to call out the people that don't mess with it. Like, for example, if somebody says a Lil Baby song is trash, you pull up that person's tweets. You're like, this guy's been saying Lil Baby's trash for the past 6 years. He's never liked Lil Baby. And then you got to talk about how much you love Lil Baby's music, or how much you like this versus the last project, and so on and so forth. Like, for example, like when Lil Baby dropped his most recent album, I thought it was solid. I didn't know what else people were expecting from Lil Baby. Now, I was somebody that was a Lil Baby hater. There have been artists that I have really called trash. And trash, me saying somebody's trash, I listen to these artists. It's like, they're the type of artists that I mess with in the subgenre of rap, if you want to call it that I listen to. Initially, I didn't mess with Lil Baby. I thought he was whack. Initially, I thought Gunna was significantly worse than Lil Baby. Now, I mess with Gunna more than Lil Baby, but I also enjoy Lil Baby's music. So I've changed over time. I've changed my opinions, but that just goes to show I'm not somebody that's just hating on these guys regardless. And I don't even listen to their music. Now, when it comes to a lot of hyperpop stuff, I guess I am pretty open, like across genres. Like anything really country related, it's just not for me. Net Spend, I think the guy kind of just like sucks. Like Destroy Lonely in the beginning, or Ken Carson I didn't really like, but Destroy Lonely I came to like after a period of time. Mainly his If Looks Could Kill project and the song as well. But yeah, I don't want to drag this on too long, but let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm see y'all on the next one.